Welcome back to Coins Hunter USA, the home of rare treasures hiding in plain sight. If you're a true coin lover or just someone curious about the hidden value in your pocket change, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic coins in American history, the Lincoln penny 1-cent coin. Don't let its small size fool you. This coin could be worth far more than 1 cent. Stay tuned, because what we reveal today might just change the way you look at every penny in your collection. Top 1. Today we're talking about the 1966 Lincoln penny, a copper coin that, despite its humble appearance, may be worth far more than you ever imagined. So stay tuned, coin lovers, because this isn't just another Lincoln cent. This is a coin with secrets, and one of those secrets could be worth $74,000. Let's go all the way back to the mid-1960s. America was going through an enormous transformation. The civil rights movement was in full swing. The Vietnam War was expanding. Technology was advancing rapidly, and the U.S. Mint was also undergoing major changes. In 1965, a nationwide coin shortage forced the Mint to rethink how it made coins. People had started hoarding silver coins after the government announced it would remove silver from dimes and quarters, and even non-silver coins were disappearing from circulation due to panic and speculation. To combat this, the Mint made two major decisions. First, they removed all mint marks from coins, no little d for Denver or s for San Francisco. This was done to discourage hoarding based on mint location. Second, they began mass-producing coins at an accelerated rate, often sacrificing precision and quality control to meet demand. This combination of decisions would make 1966 coins, including the Lincoln penny, unique, unpredictable, and extremely collectible today. Now, let's focus on the design. On the front, we have the enduring image of President Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That iconic portrait remained unchanged in 1966, a silent witness to decades of American history. On the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial, added in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. From a design standpoint, this coin is a classic, recognizable to almost everyone in the country, but here's what really matters: the things you don't see. The small details. The minting quirks. The errors. These are what transform an everyday penny into a rare collectible that can bring in thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars. Let's begin with one of the most exciting types of minting mistakes, the double die. A double die occurs when the coin die that stamps the image onto the blank shifts slightly between strikes, resulting in doubled text or numbers. In the 1966 Lincoln penny, some examples have shown clear doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," on the word "liberty," or even on the numbers of the date, 1966. These doubled letters are subtle, but with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, they become striking. And to collectors, a clean double die example can be worth a fortune. Another error that causes major excitement is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned when it's struck, causing the design to appear shifted, sometimes dramatically so. In minor cases, it might look like a rim error, but extreme examples can show up to 80% of the design missing on one side. The more dramatic and well-centered the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. These off-center strikes are visual proof of imperfection, and collectors absolutely love them. Then there are clipped planchet errors, where a piece of the coin is literally missing due to a mistake during the cutting of the blank metal discs. These coins look as if someone took a bite out of them, an instantly recognizable and very collectible flaw. There's also die cracks, which appear as raised lines across the coin due to cracks in the stamping die. While these might seem like tiny imperfections, larger die cracks, especially ones that stretch across Lincoln's face or the memorial, are rare and sought after. Another fascinating type is the bubbled planchet, where small raised bubbles form under the surface due to gas trapped during the minting process, but it's not just the errors. Even a perfectly struck 1966 penny, in pristine, uncirculated condition, is incredibly hard to find today. That's because these coins were never really saved. They were minted in huge numbers, over 2 billion, and spent, lost, circulated, and worn down. Very few people in 1966 thought to save pennies, especially ones with no mint mark. After all, it was just a regular coin, right, wrong. Today, coins in mint state, graded MS-65 and above, especially by reputable grading companies like PCGS or NGC, are incredibly valuable because of their rarity. It's not about how many were made, it's about how many survived untouched, still glowing with their original red copper sheen, and let's not forget about SMS coins, special mint sets. In 1966, the mint didn't release traditional proof sets, but they did offer SMS coins that were struck with extra care and have a more polished look. These coins can sometimes be confused with proofs, but they have subtle differences, like softer edges or a satin-like finish. Some 1966 Lincoln cents from SMS sets are breathtaking in quality, and high-grade examples can easily fetch thousands at auction. Collectors also love this coin for what it represents, a moment frozen in time. The no-mint mark policy, the rushed production, the transition in coinage metals and minting standards. The 1966 Lincoln penny is more than just a piece of copper, it's a snapshot of a nation in change, a marker of a specific chapter in American economic history, and that's why this coin is so special. It carries historical weight. It carries mystery. And for those lucky enough to find one in exceptional condition, or with one of the rare errors we discussed, it can carry a truly jaw-dropping value. So now, for the part you've all been waiting for, the price reveal. If you are the fortunate owner of a 1966 Lincoln penny in near-perfect, uncirculated condition, or better yet, one that features a verified minting error, then brace yourself. That tiny copper coin, once used to buy bubble gum or tossed in a tip jar, could be worth an incredible $74,000, yes, you heard that right, $74,000. For a single penny. That's the magic of numismatics. The right coin, with the right condition and the right features, can change your life. So don't toss those pennies. Check them. Study them. You never know which one might be a hidden treasure waiting to be found. Top 2. We're talking about the United States Lincoln penny from the year 1968, a 1-cent piece with more mystery, value, and hidden power than most people could ever imagine. Now, before you think it's just another old penny, stop right there. Because this isn't just any Lincoln penny. The 1968 edition carries historical importance, minting secrets, and, if found with the right condition or error, an unbelievable value that could shock even the most experienced collector. So sit tight, listen closely, and let's explore why the 1968 Lincoln penny is so much more than a simple coin. Let's begin by setting the scene. The year was 1968. America was in the midst of enormous social and political change. Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated, protests against the Vietnam War were erupting across cities, and the U.S. was entering one of its most turbulent periods in modern history. Meanwhile, at the U.S. Mint, another kind of transformation was taking place, one that coin collectors are still fascinated by to this day. You see, 1968 was a unique year in coin production. Just 2 years earlier, in 1966, the U.S. Mint had reintroduced mint marks, which had been temporarily removed during the coin shortage of the mid-60s. So in 1968, for the first time in several years, the mint marks were officially back on Lincoln pennies. This matters a lot, because it gives us several different types of 1968 pennies, and some are far rarer than others. The 3 types of 1968 Lincoln pennies were the Philadelphia Mint version, with no mint mark, the Denver Mint version, marked with a D, and the San Francisco Mint version, marked with an S. It's the San Francisco minted coins, the ones with the S under the date, that are of particular interest, especially those that were proof coins or came from special mint sets. These coins were struck with much greater detail and care, and when preserved in perfect condition, they are a collector's dream. But the real prize lies in the coins that came from San Francisco with unexpected errors, the kind of rare mistakes that slipped through quality control unnoticed and now command extraordinary value on the market. So, what kinds of errors should you look for on a 1968 Lincoln penny? One of the most sought after is the double die error, especially on the S mintmark coins. These doubling errors can occur on the lettering, like Liberty or In God We Trust, or even the numbers in the date, 1968. Under magnification, these letters may appear thick, shadowed, or ghosted, as if printed twice. These errors are a direct result of the die striking the planchet more than once, ever so slightly misaligned, and the result is a unique, collectible gem that serious collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Another exciting error to look for is the off-center strike, which results in part of the coin's design being shifted or completely cut off. These are very noticeable errors and become even more valuable when the coin's date is still fully visible. There are also die break errors, which appear as raised lines or lumps on the coin, usually caused by cracked or worn dies. These little flaws are often ignored by the untrained eye but can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value when found on a 1968 penny, but we're not done yet. There are clipped planchet errors, where a section of the coin is missing due to a mistake in the punching process during blanking. And then, there are transitional planchet errors, where a coin may have been struck using a blank intended for another year or denomination, a rare, shocking kind of minting slip-up that collectors absolutely go wild for. Now, here's what makes the 1968 penny even more special: it's not just about errors. Even without a visible flaw, a 1968 Lincoln penny in pristine condition, especially one graded MS 65 or higher, can be quite valuable. Why? Because even though these coins were produced in high numbers, most of them entered circulation immediately and were worn down through everyday use. Finding one today that still has its original red copper luster, with no contact marks, scratches, or signs of handling, is extremely rare. In fact, it's estimated that less than 0.01% of all 1968 pennies minted still exist in mint state condition today. That's what turns a common coin into a collector's trophy: condition, rarity, and the thrill of the hunt. So let's say you've just found a 1968 penny in your coin collection. How do you know if it's valuable? First, check for the mint mark. A coin with the S mint mark is already more desirable than its Philadelphia or Denver counterparts. Then look for any signs of doubling, misalignment, or striking issues. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can help you spot the more subtle errors. And finally, check the coin's condition. If it looks bright, sharp, and untouched, you might just be holding something very special in your hands. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. If you're lucky enough to have a 1968 Lincoln penny with a clear mint error, such as a double die, off-center strike, or clipped planchet, and that coin is in exceptional uncirculated condition, then that little copper coin could fetch as much as $82,000. Yes, you heard me right, $82,000 for a single penny. A coin that people used to toss into fountains, leave on counters, or drop between sofa cushions, now worth more than a brand new car, a down payment on a house, or a life-changing financial boost. That's the incredible world of coin collecting. It's not just about old coins, it's about stories, history, rarity, and the magic of finding something valuable hiding in plain sight. So don't underestimate those pennies sitting in jars or tucked away in your grandparents' attic. Take the time to examine them carefully. You might just be holding onto a forgotten fortune. Top 3. We're talking about the 1971 Lincoln penny, a coin that most would overlook as just another old cent. But trust me, this copper beauty has secrets that make it stand out, and some versions of this penny are now selling for unbelievable amounts. If you're a collector, a curious viewer, or just someone who wants to know whether that old penny in your pocket could be worth a fortune, then stick with me, because this is the video you've been waiting for. Let's set the stage. The year was 1971. America was in the midst of major transitions. Vietnam was still a daily headline, the Apollo missions had just taken humans to the moon and back, and the U.S. economy was feeling the early rumblings of inflation and change. It was also a time when the U.S. Mint was pushing millions of coins into circulation to keep up with the fast-paced economic growth of the nation. But even among those billions of coins, something unexpected happened: errors, rarities, and striking inconsistencies that would later turn into collector gold. Now, the Lincoln penny had already been circulating for over 6 decades by 1971, featuring the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the famous Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Designed by Victor David Brenner and later modified for the memorial reverse by Frank Gasparo, this coin was instantly recognizable and trusted by Americans across the country. But here's where things get exciting. In 1971, the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln pennies at 3 major locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, marked with a D; San Francisco, marked with an S, and while most of the coins produced were routine, everyday pieces meant for circulation, a small number were special issues, and a handful were minted with errors so rare they've become legends in the world of coin collecting. Let's talk about those errors, because that's where the true value hides. Point 1: of the most famous and valuable errors from the 1971 Lincoln penny is the double die obverse, specifically found on the Philadelphia minted coins. In these special errors, the text on the coin, particularly the motto, "In God We Trust," the word "Liberty," and the date, 1971, appears to have been struck twice, creating a ghost-like duplication visible to the naked eye or under magnification. These errors occurred when the die used to imprint the coin shifted slightly between strikes, a mistake that turns an ordinary penny into a high-value rarity, but it doesn't stop there. The San Francisco proof coins minted in 1971 also have some incredible variants. There are reports of no S proof coins, where the expected S mint mark is mysteriously missing from the coin. This happened because the mint accidentally used a die that hadn't been stamped with the S identifier. These are exceptionally rare and highly desirable among advanced collectors, especially when the coins are graded PR 65 or higher. Other errors include off-center strikes, where the coin blank wasn't aligned properly during minting. These coins can appear partially blank, with missing design elements, especially interesting when the date remains visible. Then there are clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's rim looks like it's been bitten off. And of course, die cracks, die chips, and cuds, where part of the coin has raised lumps or gaps due to damage in the die itself. Each of these tiny imperfections adds to the uniqueness and potential value of the coin, even without an error. A 1971 Lincoln penny in mint state condition, especially those graded MS 65, MS 66, or higher, is hard to come by. Why? Because these coins were made for circulation. Most of them were used in transactions, shoved into coin jars, or scraped along vending machine slots. Very few were saved in untouched, pristine condition. That's why when a perfect one appears, full red luster, sharp edges, and no wear, it immediately draws the attention of collectors and auction houses alike. Now let's get into the numbers. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 1.9 billion pennies in 1971. Denver added 2.9 billion more. But the San Francisco Mint only made proof coins, in significantly smaller quantities, and many of them were never preserved properly. Out of these billions of coins, only a tiny fraction exists today in high grades or with known, authenticated errors, and that's the thrill of coin collecting. You could have one of these ultra-rare pieces without even knowing it. Maybe it was passed down from a grandparent. Maybe it's been sitting in a jar of pennies for years. All it takes is a sharp eye and a bit of knowledge to uncover a small treasure worth a big reward. So, what should you be looking for? Check for a double die on Philadelphia pennies. Look closely at the date and inscriptions. Inspect your 1971 S-proof coins for mint mark errors or unusual surfaces. Look for off-center strikes, clipped edges, die breaks, or unusual shapes. And finally, check the condition. A coin in mint state condition is a treasure on its own, even without errors. And now, after everything we've uncovered, it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. If you are fortunate enough to find a 1971 Lincoln penny with a significant minting error, like a doubled die or missing mint mark, and that coin is in top-tier, uncirculated condition, then congratulations. You may be holding a coin that is worth up to $85,000, yes, you heard that right, $85,000. For a single penny. A 1-cent coin with the power to rewrite your financial story. That's the beauty of numismatics. History, precision, and luck all wrapped into something so small, it could fit between your fingers. So don't underestimate the power of that old change sitting in your home. Check your pennies. Look twice. Because the next time you glance at a 1971 Lincoln cent, you might just be staring at a hidden fortune. Top 4. We're diving deep into one of the most talked about and hunted coins in U.S. history, the 1972 Lincoln penny. This isn't just a coin, it's a mystery, a marvel, and for a few lucky people, a mini jackpot of unbelievable value. At first glance, the 1972 Lincoln penny seems pretty ordinary. It's got the same copper glow we all recognize, the face of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the stately Lincoln Memorial on the back. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 and modified in 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, this coin remained a reliable part of American change for decades. But here's where things get thrilling: some 1972 pennies are worth way more than just 1 cent. And if you're lucky enough to spot one of the special ones, you could be holding a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. Let's rewind to the year 1972, a time of political tension, cultural shifts, and change in every corner of the country. The U.S. Mint was busy keeping up with economic demand, producing massive quantities of coins. At the Philadelphia Mint alone, over 2.9 billion Lincoln cents were struck that year. That's right, billions with a B. And yet, despite that enormous number, a tiny handful were minted with a striking and valuable mistake: the double die obverse. Now, if you've never heard of the term double die, buckle up, because this is the error that makes the 1972 penny a legend. A double die error happens during the die creation process, which is essentially the tool that strikes the image onto the coin. If the die receives a misaligned or repeated impression during the hubbing process, it transfers that doubled image onto every coin it strikes. And that's exactly what happened in 1972, creating one of the most dramatic and collectible coin errors in American history. On the 1972 double die penny, you can clearly see strong doubling on Liberty, In God We Trust, and even the date, 1972. We're not talking about a faint blur or a subtle shadow. This is bold, crisp doubling visible even without a magnifying glass. That's why this coin stands out so dramatically from other double dies in U.S. coinage history. It's bold, dramatic, and unmistakable. Only a small number of these double die coins were released before the error was caught, making them incredibly scarce today. In fact, collectors and dealers estimate that just a fraction of the original mintage has survived in decent condition, and even fewer in uncirculated or mint state condition. But here's something even more interesting: there are actually several different double die varieties known for the 1972 penny, but only one is considered the major double die. That's the one with strong, clear doubling, and that's the one that gets the big attention at auctions. However, this isn't the only thing that makes 1972 pennies valuable. There are other rare errors from this year that drive up the price for collectors. Some pennies were struck off-center, meaning the coin blank wasn't aligned properly when it was struck, leaving part of the design missing. Others have clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is cut away, almost as if someone took a bite out of it. And some 1972 cents show die cracks, cuds, or bubbled surfaces, each telling the story of a flawed minting process that turns a regular coin into a collectible rarity. Now, if you find a proof coin from 1972 with any kind of error, that's a whole different level of rare. Proof coins were only made at the San Francisco Mint and were not intended for circulation. They were struck carefully for collectors, using polished dies and special planchets, and any error on a proof coin is extremely rare and valuable. So how can you tell if your 1972 penny is one of the valuable ones? Here are a few key things to check. Look closely at In God We Trust, Liberty, and 1972. If you see strong, clear doubling, you may have the major double die variety. Use a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe to inspect the details. Even small errors can add significant value. Check for mint marks. Remember, Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, Denver coins are marked with AD, and proof coins from San Francisco have an S. Evaluate the condition of your coin. The higher the grade, the higher the value, especially if the coin is uncirculated or still has its full red copper luster. Professional grading from services like PCGS or NGC is the best way to authenticate and value your coin. A certified, high-grade 1972 double die penny can sell for thousands, even tens of thousands, depending on its condition. Collectors absolutely love the 1972 penny because of how dramatic and clear the doubling is. It's one of those rare instances in U.S. coin history where an error is both visually striking and historically significant. That combination creates serious demand, and serious demand creates serious prices. So, before you toss your next handful of pennies into the coin jar, take a good look. Flip them over. Examine the date. Look at every detail. Because the next coin you find could be a 1972 Lincoln penny with a minting flaw so rare and beautiful that it could rewrite your day, or your entire week. Now here comes the moment we've all been waiting for. You're probably wondering, just how much can this little copper coin be worth? Well, if you are lucky enough to discover a 1972 Lincoln penny with the major double die obverse, in stunning mint condition, certified by a professional grading service, that tiny 1-cent piece could sell at auction for as much as $91,000. Yes, you heard that right, $91,000. All from a coin that most people would walk right past or spend without a second thought. This is why we do what we do at Coins Hunter USA, to help you discover the hidden stories, the overlooked treasures, and the life-changing coins that might be sitting in your very own home. So, take out your penny jars. Search those old drawers. Ask your grandparents. And who knows? Maybe you're the next lucky person to find one of America's most valuable modern cents. Top 5. We're taking a close look at a coin that may seem completely ordinary at first glance, but in the right condition, with the right errors, can command an unbelievable price tag. Yes, we're talking about the 1973 Lincoln penny, a coin that holds more value than you could ever imagine. If you know what to look for. Let's take a moment to appreciate this little copper coin. It weighs just 3.11 grams, measures 19 millimeters across, and is made from 95% copper and 5% zinc. On the front, we see the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, America's 16th president, a symbol of strength, integrity, and freedom. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic tribute to his legacy. Since its introduction in 1959, this design became one of the most widely recognized images in U.S. coinage. And yet, the 1973 Lincoln penny stands apart from most others, not because of how it looks at first, but because of the errors and rarity that make it a collector's dream. Let's rewind to the year 1973. The United States Mint was operating in full swing. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were responsible for minting over 5.7 billion Lincoln cents that year, billions, with a B. On top of that, the San Francisco Mint produced nearly 2.7 million proof coins, specially made for collectors using polished dies and mirror-like surfaces. With such massive numbers in circulation, one would think there's nothing special about the 1973 penny, but that's exactly what makes the rare ones so exciting. Out of billions, only a few dozen coins exist with the kinds of minting flaws and characteristics that make them incredibly valuable. So what makes some 1973 Lincoln pennies worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, of dollars? It all comes down to errors, rarity, and condition. One of the most talked about varieties is the 1973 double die obverse. While not as famous as the 1972 double die, certain 1973 cents show strong doubling on the date, liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." This doubling is not just a light shift, it's clear, bold, and noticeable even without magnification, making it highly desirable to collectors who crave dramatic, visible errors. These double dies are the result of a misalignment during the die creation process. And because the mistake was caught early, only a small number of these double die coins ever made it out into circulation. But that's not all. Some 1973 pennies were struck on foreign planchets, meaning the blank used was meant for a different denomination or even another country. These wrong planchet errors can include coins struck on aluminum, dime-sized blanks, or thinner/lighter pieces of metal. These coins are not only rare, they're astonishingly valuable, because they're physical proof of a mix-up at the U.S. Mint that should never have happened. Other valuable errors include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin was not aligned properly when struck. Be errors, where a small vertical die crack appears between the B and E in Liberty, forming what looks like a tiny letter I. Clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a miscut blank, and die caps, where a coin sticks to the die and causes the next few coins to be distorted and struck with blurred or ghost-like images. These types of errors are often overlooked by the average person. You might have one of these coins in a jar right now and never even notice, unless you know what to look for. The next factor that determines value is condition. A 1973 penny found in pocket change might be interesting, but it won't be worth much unless it's in mint state condition, meaning it shows no signs of wear. Collectors want coins with full red color, sharp details, and clean surfaces. In the world of coin collecting, these are called red MS, mint state, coins, and they're the top of the line. A 1973 Lincoln penny with a major error in MS65 or higher, graded by top services like PCGS or NGC, can command a premium unlike anything you'd expect from a 1-cent coin. Now let's talk about proof coins. Proof coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint using highly polished dies and specially treated blanks. These coins were made for collectors and not intended for general circulation. But even in these carefully made sets, errors still occurred. A 1973 S-proof penny with a double die obverse or other striking flaw is so rare that when it appears at auction, bidding wars break out. And in the world of rare coin collecting, those wars can get very expensive, very fast. But what makes the 1973 penny so appealing isn't just the possibility of a rare error. It's the thrill of the hunt. The idea that in a sea of billions, a tiny handful were minted with a mistake that could make them worth a fortune. It's the feeling of flipping through a roll of pennies and spotting something strange in the date, the excitement of holding history in your hand, the joy of discovering a forgotten piece of treasure. That's why coin collectors are obsessed with pennies like the 1973. It's not about the face value, it's about what lies beneath. A rare die variety, a minting flaw, or a once-in-a-lifetime find that turns pocket change into a powerful story, and a valuable asset. So how do you know if your 1973 penny is valuable? Start with these tips: examine the date, Liberty, and in God we trust for signs of doubling. Weigh the coin to check if it's on a correct planchet. It should weigh around 3.11 grams. Use a magnifier to look for tiny cracks, distortions, or signs of an off-center strike. Check for proof coins with odd features, especially from the San Francisco Mint, and if you find anything unusual, get it graded by a professional service, because in the right condition, with the right error, a 1973 Lincoln penny can be worth a shocking amount of money. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. If you're lucky enough to find a 1973 Lincoln penny with a dramatic minting error, such as a bold double die, off-metal strike, or rare proof variety, and it's in top-grade condition, professionally certified and preserved, then that tiny copper coin could sell at auction for a jaw-dropping $98,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $98,000 for a coin most people would walk right past or spend without a second thought. This is why at Coins Hunter USA, we encourage you to always check your change. Examine every coin. Because the next rare penny might not be hiding in a museum, it might be sitting in your pocket right now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode of incredible coin stories, values, and discoveries. Until next time, happy hunting.